passing of the legendary guitarist Jeff Beck, formerly of the Yardbirds, among other self-endeavors, took the music world by shock when it was confirmed by his family on January 11th. Since then, tributes have been flooding in, paying respect to one of the greatest and most influential players in rock history. Here's what some of these rock legends have been saying about Jeff Beck since his untimely passing. Pink Floyd member and fellow guitarist David Gilmour paid tribute to Beck on Twitter, saying, "I am devastated to hear the news of the death of my friend and hero Jeff Beck, whose music has thrilled and inspired me and countless others for so many years. Polly's and my thoughts go out to his lovely wife Sandra. He will be forever in our hearts." Ozzy Osbourne's social media team released an official statement following Jeff's passing, saying, "I can't express how saddened I am to hear of Jeff Beck's passing. What a terrible loss for his family, friends, and his many fans. It was such an honor to have known Jeff, and an incredible honor to have had him play on my most recent album, Patient Number 9. Long live Jeff Beck." Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger chimed in, tweeting the following message: "With the death of Jeff Beck, we have lost a wonderful man and one of the greatest guitar players in the world. We will all miss him so much." Speaking of the Stones, former Jeff Beck Group member and current member of the Rolling Stones, Ronnie Wood, paid tribute to Beck and praised their work together, tweeting, "Now Jeff has gone, I feel like one of my band of brothers has left this world, and I'm going to dearly miss him. I'm sending much sympathy to Sandra, his family, and all who loved him. I want to thank him for our early days together in the Jeff Beck Group, conquering America." Kiss bassist and one of the most prolific names in all of rock, Gene Simmons, was one of the first to share the news of Jeff's passing on Twitter, tweeting, "Heartbreaking news to report the late great Jeff Beck has sadly passed. No one played guitar like Jeff. Please get a hold of the first two Jeff Beck Group albums and behold greatness." Gene's bandmate in Kiss, fellow founding member Paul Stanley, had this to say on Twitter: "Wow, what awful news. Jeff Beck, one of the all-time guitar masters, has died. From the Yardbirds and the Jeff Beck Group on, he blazed a trail impossible to follow. Play on now and forever." One-fourth of the Beatles, Paul McCartney, issued this statement in tribute to Jeff Beck, saying, "I was so saddened to hear that Jeff Beck had died. Jeff Beck was a lovely man with a wicked sense of humor who played some of the best guitar music to ever come out of Great Britain." This next tribute comes from another one of the all-time great rock and metal guitarists, Tony Iommi. He says, and I quote, "I was totally shocked to hear the very sad news of Jeff Beck's passing. Jeff was such a nice person and an outstanding, iconic, genius guitar player. There will never be another Jeff Beck. His playing was very special and distinctively brilliant. He will be missed. R.I.P. Jeff." Billy F. Gibbons of ZZ Top reflected back on his decades-long friendship with Jeff Beck, saying, "I met Jeff Beck when I was 17, and I was glad to know a guy like that. A guy who was able to show me how this guitar-playing thing should be approached, and that's still very much the case. Jeff was a wondrous soul, and we already miss him tremendously." In perhaps one of the most well-written and touching tributes, Led Zeppelin frontman Robert Plant released this statement on Twitter saying, "This is tragic news, hard to take in. Jeff always appeared timeless, ever-evolving. He embraced project after project with limitless energy and enthusiasm. He surfaced in an extraordinary time. He took his place side by side with the virtuosos of the period, his mates. The scene was on fire. He introduced a cool template moving from Yardbird to Bolero to Truth, Beckola with Rod, the perfect foil, the singer and guitarist syndrome, plenty of sparks, great results. He cooked up magic through all passing eras, always up for the next unknown, unlikely collision, back in time to homage Cliff Gallup, forward to Johnny Depp. His gift was enormous. He was funny, challenging, and eager. My feelings are with Sandra today. R.P. Robert Plant." The godfather of shock rock, Alice Cooper, posted a touching tribute to Jeff Beck on Twitter, harkening back to the days of the original Alice Cooper group, saying, "When I was 16 years old, the Spiders, who became the original Alice Cooper band, opened for the Yardbirds. That night I experienced the greatest guitar player I had ever heard. Half a century later, Jeff Beck is still the greatest guitarist, period." The last statement is from Led Zeppelin guitarist Jimmy Page, who also happened to play with Jeff Beck in the Yardbirds. He had this to say on Twitter, and I quote, "The six-stringed warrior is no longer here for us to admire the spell he could weave around our mortal emotions. Jeff could channel the music from the ethereal. His technique unique, his imaginations apparently limitless. Jeff, I will miss you along with your millions of fans. Jeff Beck, rest in peace. Jeff Beck's official cause of death was bacterial meningitis, and although he's no longer with us to create new music in the future, his legacy will live on through these tributes as well as the music he made throughout his decades-long career. An absolute legend and one who will be missed sorely in the music scene. Rest in peace, Jeff Beck.